Back, sports fans. In this segment, I'm going to discuss the World Series that concluded yesterday. As a lot of you may know by now, I stopped talking about baseball some time ago because I didn't feel like the season was, I guess for lack of a better term, legitimate. And at that point, I didn't feel like it ought to proceed like it did. However, now that it's concluded, albeit with a lot of controversy, I believe, and in my standpoint, not just because of what happened in last night's game, but the whole season was brought into question as far as I'm concerned, and is questionable. With that having been said, the Dodgers beat the Rays yesterday 3-1, as a lot of you probably know by now. And there's been a lot of talk about whether Blake Snell should have been pulled or not. While I'm not a proponent of pulling starting pitchers who are pitching well, I don't believe he should have been. And it's not because I was rooting against the Dodgers or for the Rays. But granted, I am an American League fan, so yes, I'm going to tend to pull for the American League team. And I really didn't have any rooting interest because I didn't feel like this 60-game season was really that legitimate. But I would say if you were to press me on it, I would have pulled for the Rays. With that having been said, I do agree with the prognosticators who have said that Justin Turner's coronavirus positive test, though be it, you don't want to make light of somebody's health, and I'm not going to in this case, but it kind of was a fitting ending in some ways to this baseball season that really should not have been past probably the first couple of games. So while the Dodgers are celebrating, and I mean, if they want to do that, that's their choice. To me, this season is very much going to be an asterisk season, more so than the 98 NBA 98-99 lockout season in the NBA, or the 81 strike shortened season in baseball, or the 82 strike shortened season of football, or 87 for that matter. And not even half the games were played. So the thing is, for you NFL fans out there, would you celebrate a five regular season game championship? Would you celebrate a 28-game NBA or NHL regular season? I know I wouldn't. I would feel it was bittersweet. And I would feel bittersweet about it. And I'm a little surprised the Dodgers don't. I give them all the credit in the world for doing what they need to do in order to win this championship. But if you were to ask me, do I put this championship on the same level as, let's say, the 61 Yankees World Series win, or the 27 Yankees World Series win, or the 39 Yankees World Series win, or even the 55, 56, or 88 Dodgers World Series wins? The answer to that is no. And that's why I especially was disappointed in Kirk Gibson, for those of you who saw it and for those of you who didn't. He did a narration of a little bit of Dodgers history, and particularly this season, where he sounded a little bit too happy, and I thought didn't remark enough upon how this season is. Now, credit to the players for getting through the season, and I suppose Rob Manfred deserves some bit of credit for putting the playoffs in a bubble. Though again, I don't think it ought to have occurred, and if that was the only way to get through this season, like I said, with all the outbreaks that occurred early, the season ought to have just been postponed and otherwise canceled, as far as I'm concerned at that point. So, I do have some ideas for improving baseball. I will get to that more so. I don't want to take away from the Dodgers' win, but right now I have some serious concerns about baseball, I'll admit that. But that's another topic for another day. So again, I'm glad the Dodgers are happy. I'm glad Clayton Kershaw feels vindicated. As a baseball fan, I'm terribly hurt and disappointed because, again, I think the season ought to have just stopped at that point. And if they could have resumed it, great. But this was all a money grab as far as I was concerned. To play 60 games is is ludicrous and it's a joke. And if I were Rob Manfred, I'd be ashamed. I'd be more ashamed than Adam Silver ought to be in some ways. And I'm not going to get in the politics of that. Enough people have commented on that. I have my personal opinion. I think Adam Silver made a few mistakes, but not as many as Rob Manfred. And that's the reason for why I think he ought to be ashamed. And that will do it for another episode of Sports with Ed. Tomorrow I will have a college recap show, and this will be the first week of it, where I will recap the Wolverines game with the Golden Gophers, as well as the Spartans game with Rutgers that were played on Saturday. And I will also preview the Wolverines-Spartans game that will be played this Saturday at Michigan Stadium. Stay tuned for that. Also, stay tuned for the Detroit Lions tomorrow, which will be on Saturday. Take care, have a good day, and stay safe. Goodbye for now.